Rainollon here. Today is another build showcase, and it's the Tenet Executioner. So let us immediately start. I'm gonna show you what does it exactly do. It does this, and everything is dead. So let's start. So the mods I'm using on the Tenet Executioner are Rending Crane, which is the stance. It really doesn't matter what stance to use. We're just going to be focusing on the heavy attack jump system, and that makes stance completely useless. The only purpose they serve is just to give you mod capacity. So it doesn't matter what you put here. Put whatever you like. The first mod, Prime Pressure Point, increased damage. Galvanized Steel, critical chance and critical damage. Galvanized Reflect gives you 5x all the time. Metal Elementalist for 90% status damage, which is a multiplicative damage increase for your damaging elements, and we are going to be proccing Toxin thanks to Saryn. Blood Rush, critical chance with combo multiplier. Smite Arcane, multiplicative damage on factions. Organ Shatter, critical damage, and Seismic Wave for a lot of melee slam damage. These are the mods I'm using. For the Arcane, this is a very important Arcane to use. Without this, you'll do much less damage. So what it does is enemies affected by status effect gain 6 additional status effect when they are knocked down or flung by a melee attack. What that means is when they're on the floor or they are flying to the air, instead of proccing 1 toxin, I'm going to be proccing 7. And they all scale with the burst damage from the slam heavy attack, thanks to this and this. And also when we crit, we're going to do even more damage. And also the multiplicative is also going to activate and do even more damage. And yeah, you're going to be seeing like millions of DPS there. And it's kind of a must-have. So the reason why we're using a jump heavy attack slam is because of the passive. The passive slam attacks release 3 explosives in a 50-meter line. Heavy slam attacks release 3 explosives in a wide forward angle. So when you jump and you press your E, you release this shockwave. But if you jump and press your heavy attack button, which is the middle mouse alternative fire mode button, releases this many shockwaves. And it does heavy attack damage. And the way you play this, it's kind of annoying. It only works with one Warframe, sadly, right now, and it's Saryn. It doesn't really matter what build you have on Saryn, you just have to have your third ability turned on, which is Toxin Lash. What Toxin Lash does, it gives you extra toxin damage. And why do you need to use this? Why does this thing the only one that works with this build? Well, Toxin Lash, what it does, any damage that you do with anything, melee, primary or secondary, you will proc Toxin. And this shockwave doesn't proc any elements, but because we have Toxin Lash, we will proc Toxin. And because this heavy attack also flungs enemies into the air, instead of being procced by one Toxin, they're going to be procced by 7 Toxin. So it's going to be hard for me to show you this, but I'm going to activate my third ability. And let's try to keep this heavy gunner alive by doing this. Nope, she's dead. Oh wait, there we go, 7 stacks of toxin. And that's also without Galvanized Steel and Galvanized Reflect, giving me constant 5x and a lot of critical damage. And what happens is you're gonna do a lot of burst damage, and that burst damage will proc a really powerful dot, which is the toxin from Toxin Lash. And then you add those multiplicative damage increases, which are the Metal Elementalist. It's a multiplicative damage increase for your damaging element, which is Toxin, and we're going to be proccing it with Toxin Lash. And Smite mods also adds a multiplicative damage, and that Toxin will pretty much double dip. And yeah, it's just absurd amount of damage you're going to do with the slam attacks. You're going to have 5x all the time, doing a large amount of burst damage, plus also proccing 7 stacks of Toxin that do a lot of damage over time. And if you want to scale the Toxin even more, you use Rhino's Roar, which also will boost the damage on your weapon and on Toxin that you proc with Toxin Lash. So sometimes I see like 1 million, sometimes I see like 2 to 3 to 5 million. But yeah, I think I saw 1.2 million. So yeah, it's kind of disgusting how much synergy Saryn has with this weapon and this type of build-up. Yeah, it's quite nice. I tested this on pretty much any faction, spent like 10 minutes in the survival against Corpus, against Ganir, Arcane, and Infested, and you just one-shot them. If the burst damage doesn't kill them, the toxin will. So against the Arcane, it's pretty much always like this. So they just die in 1 or 2 slams, mostly a singular slam. I also tested against Ganir, same thing, they're much squishier than the Arcane dudes. But it's pretty much like this as well. You just have to have your third ability on. Against Infested, it was really funny against Infested, they don't even die from the ticks. They die from the burst. I think I saw 3 million and 2 million. And you also, against Corpus, it's the most funniest because they hate Toxin, because Toxin bypasses their shields and does direct damage. So yeah, it's even more overkill. So yeah, it's pretty much a synergy with Saryn and this setup, the Toxin Executioner with those mods. Highly recommend if you like Saryn a lot. Like I said, you don't need to build really specific build to make this weapon absurdly broken. I'm talking about Saryn here. So you need to build like a lot of strength, a lot of duration. You just have to have your third ability turned on. You don't even need Rhino's Roar. It's just a nice thing to have if you're going for this type of build. And yeah, that's my Tenet Executioner slam, heavy attack slam build. I hope you enjoy the build. Thank you everybody for watching. Leave a like, sub, and see you all next time. Thank you. Goodbye.